As soon as I saw it, I knew it was trouble. Then, I made my first mistake. I opened the case. Who shot Johnny Rock? Wanted to be a big shot in the rail shooter bracket. Got involved with some slimy scuzzbags known as Phoenix Games. When I got to the game, I found this in its packaging. Wait, what the fuck even is this? This is a little doohickey. It's a pretty handy little doohickey. Thanks, Club at TV Retail, you guys are the best. I wonder if this game was for PlayStation or maybe even PC. It said it was for everything. And how do you categorize a game that's for everything? How do you ignore such an oddity like this? Then I made my second mistake. I said I'd play it, and then I opened the manual.
Fuck!
Whoshot Johnny Rock is actually one of the weirdest games that I own. I mean, it's the only thing that I've ever seen which can be played on PlayStation 2, Xbox, PC, and possibly anything else with a DVD drive.
This is mainly because this thing isn't a game in its programming and is actually just a DVD. A DVD with some work done on it to make the game work somewhat as a video game. It was originally some sort of Action Max-esque light gun game, which played out like a really bad movie, until you needed to shoot an enemy, and then they'd fall over.
The best way that I could describe this thing is that it's kind of like a live-action version of Dragon's Lair. The only difference being that they actually have alternate, situations that can happen, mostly to bleed more quarters out of the player. If you play this more than once, you'll notice that some events happen differently, meaning that you'll have to react quicker and may get tricked once or twice.
Anyway, Digital Leisure Inc. and Phoenix Games of all people decided to port it to the new generation of consoles, since its best port at the time was on the Sega 32X, and nobody fucking liked that thing, so yeah, it needed a bit of an update. I guess for the 3 people who wanted it, this was semi-good news. This is an example of a dated game. The most impressive aspects of these kind of games were the visuals, because at the time most games looked like this. However, not only do we have better visuals now, but we can also make better games than this, with point-and-click adventure games and interactive storytelling experiences like Heavy Rain. Hell, Super Seducer is a better version of this.
Fucking prick.
These arcade reaction timers offered little by way of gameplay, as you merely hovered a cursor over a target and had an unfair amount of time to react, where you could press a button and deal with the threat in front of you before you either moved on to something else or missed and died and had to put more quarters in. The game is set in 1930s Chicago, and its base premise is that this guy, Johnny Rock, was gunned down in the street, and you have to find out who killed him, as his girlfriend, a girl named Red, has come into your office and made you pop a boner.
Yeah, that's my guess as to why you take this job. I mean, logically, it's either money or boner. It's your guess as to what the true motivator is.
Whilst telling you about the case, 2 guys step in. One of them holding flowers, and the other one holding a fucking gun. The one holding a gun instantly shoots you, and if you don't react fast enough, you're dead. Well, actually, you're not dead. You go to a condescending schmuck doctor who picks the bullets out of you and says one of 5 stupid quotes.
Cheese. You remind me of Swiss cheese.
You might notice that I lose money during this part of the game. That's actually my credit which funds the doctor's bills, and probably would have been real money in real life. It wouldn't have been like $5,000, it probably would have been like a quarter or something. If you run out of money, the doctor refuses to patch you up, and you go to the morgue. Even though you're clearly still alive as he's talking to you, then this asshole funeral director tells you that you're dead in the same way that you'd break the news to someone who got a 6 instead of a 5 at blackjack.
It's Betty Bye for this private eye. Better luck next time.
You might wonder how these two can be so nonchalant about death, but in this universe, death is just a triviality. For some fucking reason, I don't know. An assassin tries to kill me in my own office, and I shoot him, and this woman doesn't even flinch. Hell, this guy here doesn't flinch, and I shot a bullet right next to him. You'd think someone would notice or care that a fucking gun was fired in the room, at the very least. Red here notices that you've been shot, but barely reacts to it. She's just like, oh yeah, an assassin, what'd you know? I don't get either how you can be so broke that you can't afford healthcare, but can seemingly afford this fancy-ass funeral. I mean, this isn't a cheap state funeral or American equivalent. That guy is in a fucking tux. All the way through the prologue, random men appear and try to shoot you for literally no reason. It would make sense if this happened late in the game, like when you're getting close to finding out the truth, or if they were here to assassinate Red to stop her from telling you her side of the story. But no, that isn't the case. She's in no danger at all. What if you turn her away? You haven't taken this case on yet. Are they just gonna assassinate everybody she goes to? I mean, fuck you idiots, why didn't you assassinate her and save yourself some bullets? Also, why the hell does it matter who shot Johnny Rock, or even that Johnny Rock was shot? I mean, people are dropping dead all around you. About 8 people have to die before you can even get to the first suspect, and then more have to die after that. It doesn't seem to matter in this universe if someone dies, so why does Johnny Rock get a private eye investigating his death? So, after taking the case, you get a lucky number. A lucky number that I failed to take note of, as they don't tell you until later that you're supposed to remember it and write it down. Like, seriously, someone called me about 10 minutes after I saw it and said, I hope you wrote down your lucky number. Fucking idiot. It's been a while since I've played a game that I had to write anything down for. Admittedly, it makes me feel like a proper detective whilst playing the game. So you then take to the streets, and at this point the game has a surprising amount of similarity to the Dick Tracy game on NES. You have to pick a location and get all of the numbers for a safe, much like in that game actually. You also get the combinations from various suspects who you aren't allowed to kill, though you don't really get the chance to kill them anyway. Of course, all their goons, you can shoot as many of them as you want. Anyway, you have to go to the 4 places, take out everyone there, and then go to Johnny's place to crack open his safe, and apparently find out who killed him. Though, the identity of the killer can be found in the safe, at least that's the conclusion that I drew from seeing the ending. Not exactly sure how that works, but whatever. If you don't go to the place at the right time, a bunch of people are waiting for you, or one person is waiting for you, and they just gun you down and you lose money for being stupid enough to go to a place before you're ready. Even though the game doesn't really tell you what order the buildings come in, you have to guess, and if you guess wrong, you lose money. If you go to a place, you get ambushed by all these mobster assholes, who you have to gun down in droves. Of course, nobody gives a shit about how many people you shoot, so long as none of them are innocent. Of course, hitting an innocent person causes the game to stop whilst you get in trouble for it, even if that innocent person later comes back with a weapon. Listen, asshole, if you run out in the middle of a war zone just to shout, "Don't shoot!" then you fucking deserve to get shot. You should keep your head down. You play the game with the arrow keys and the OK button, and the DVD controls typically apply. Scene skip and fast forward don't work, obviously, and if you press square on the PS2, you're more or less fucked as you go right back to the main menu. Which is great. Fucking great for anyone who doesn't know that. I thankfully did, but still. As you navigate the screen, you have a few seconds to find the target and shoot. It's rigid, clunky, and worst of all, inaccurate to the point of unpredictability. This can mean that some people you have to shoot have targets hovering over them, and in order to hit them, you have to guess which of the two targets you've got to hit. Sometimes the targets that are near them don't even touch them. Like, both of them look like misses, but apparently one isn't a miss. Sometimes you can hit someone by aiming a bit to the left of them, and apparently they only take damage from being shot in one place, but not anywhere else. It's a bit of a mess. I think playing this on PC might be your best bet, because then you have the advantage of using the mouse and not having to thumb through everything with the arrow keys, but it's still a massive pain in the arse, and it's clear why this technology isn't suited for the DVD player. The game, it's not completely broken. Usually there's one or two places you can aim at, and you are given a bit of time to set up the aimer. However, the game is still bollocks as it's designed to catch you out and pay more for continues. Of course, because the continues are free in the home console version, it basically just means that you have to watch an annoyingly long cutscene of the doctor talking shit, and then possibly an annoyingly long cutscene of the funeral director talking shit, and then finally you get booted back to the map screen where you can navigate to the place you died.
That's assuming that you can remember where you died after watching a Lord of the Rings trilogy worth of cutscenes saying, "You died." Gee, thanks, I didn't know that.
If not, you get shot and die, and have to go through the whole rigmarole again, just to test your patience further. Once you get the hang of it though, the game is incredibly easy. Though I was playing it on the easier difficulty admittedly, because I thought it would stop the random ass ambushes that make this thing a bit of a slog. I think that in reality the only difference is that it gives you more time to react and more credits at the start. And trust me, with controls this annoyingly stiff and unresponsive and difficult, you need it. You get 4 continues and that is more or less it. Apparently you have to pay for bullets as well, but I think that aspect was scrapped in this home console port, or at least in the DVD release. I have seen a arcade home console port which did have this, and I think the Sega 32X version did as well. But on the DVD version, I've never encountered the bullet thing at all. I've not been offered the chance to buy more bullets, nor have I ever run out. In fact, the HUD is completely gone in the DVD version. Money is only shown when you spend it. The score never shows, nor does the difficulty, and most interesting of all, the bullet counter doesn't exist. Like, you have unlimited ammo, I guess. The only difference really is that you only get one shot per instance, and if you miss, you instantly die. On the older versions, you could afford to shoot a few times before time ran out, thus correcting yourself if you made a mistake. Here, there's not much room for error. This being on DVD makes the game look a lot better than it did on 32X. I think it's more or less on par with the arcade version, which has the quality of Laserdisc, which it was originally put onto, rather than that of a movie that's been shoved up someone's arse. In truth, I think the arcade version would have been much better than this. The control would have been a lot more fluid, and obviously the game was designed around it. On a technical level, the DVD version is admittedly impressive, though on a practical level it just doesn't work. I think they could have made it a rail shooter like Time Crisis or something. You could have had, in theory, used some interface and put the video in front of it. But I'm not a game developer, so this is purely speculation. Still, that's what they did with the arcade version, so I don't see why you couldn't do it with the PS2 or Xbox 10 years after. Another thing this affects, beside the control, is the performance. Now again, I'm not a developer, but I get the impression that they more or less made this game by putting a bunch of scenes together, meaning that one has to end before another begins. It also means that they have to be loaded in, and this really affects the flow, as you have to wait a few seconds for the consequence of your actions or inaction to take effect. This also adds an annoying timer, which isn't even shown to you because there's no form of HUD, for obvious reasons. This timer more or less makes it so that if you don't react in time, you get taken to a screen that condescendingly tells you how to play the game, or sometimes it activates a cutscene, changing something on the map, or worst of all, it kills you. And no, it's not like you get killed for being inactive for too long. Sometimes being inactive for 5 seconds gets you a chance to win at roulette, and sometimes you get flat out assassinated. I didn't exactly go and get coffee either. This chucklefuck just jumps out of a barrel and shoots me whilst innocently navigating the menus. As a kid, I played a lot with DVD menus and games, and so as a result, I remember how a scene would reset if you spent too long browsing it on a DVD, and I think that's what this feature is. But I don't know why you have to die. That shouldn't ever be a thing. Again, the whole DVD video thing, it's technically brilliant. Like, both on a, well, it's kind of clever, and it's also technologically brilliant. But in truth, I don't even 100% understand how this thing works. Some things here, I don't get how a DVD can even do them. Like randomly generated sequences, keeping track of your money, health and game progress. It's rather impressive. However, just because its technology's fascinating, doesn't make it a good game. As a game, this is fucking horrible to play at times. It's not the worst, but it's pretty fucking bad. The checkpoints are merciless, the controls are stiff, and there's little to appreciate by way of gameplay. Anyway, every time you bust someone, they give you an object to shoot at JR's mansion, which will contain a number behind it. Of course, before you can get there, you have to spend several minutes tiredly shooting these same arseholes over and over again, and if you're patient enough to sit through all that, you get the chance to shoot at the number hiding art. If you shoot the wrong art piece, or take too long to remember, some random guy appears and shoots you. I hate it when games do this. It's something that Telltale sometimes does, where they murder you with something that doesn't even appear if you don't take too long, or don't fuck up the task entirely. It's like, seriously, piss off with this, game developers. Making a drone appear and shoot me in the face in Batman was no cooler than this game doing it 10 years before. Anyway, you fight your way up this staircase, and this got me more game overs than any other part of the game. First, you shoot these two. Simple enough. Then, you shoot this bomb, by guessing what point you're supposed to shoot it on the screen. So, you basically have to know whereabouts it's going to be when the game declares that it's okay for you to shoot it, which apparently disarms the thing, and sends it down to the floor. Okay, I fucked this up 2 or 3 times, and when you do, you go through the whole doctor bullshit, and then go back to the bottom of the stairway with these 2 jackasses. I got very familiar with these guys. Very familiar. Then, immediately after disarming the bomb, this fucking arsehole appears and shoots you to death. If you have the reflexes to kill him, then you get to move on to do the safe combination. Obviously there's no safe cracking minigame that can be made on a DVD menu, so you more or less have to shoot the right number when it appears. What if the number passes you by? Then the safe explodes for no fucking reason, kills you, and puts you at the back of the fucking cunting stairs.
Honestly, these are the most frustrating moments for me, and it's the most frustrated I've ever gotten with one of these kind of games. I'm not even sorry for that. These checkpoints are merciless.
Then you go to the warehouse and shoot more bad guys. It gets fucking tiring by now, and I just want it to end. It's so repetitive, and the same shit keeps happening over and over again. This idiot woman appears twice and tries to pull the same shit in the exact same spot twice. I mean, Jesus Christ. I like this bit where two people come out of an elevator together, and this woman's packing heat, but the man just stands there with his hands in his pockets, not really giving a shit. He goes through the whole fight without touching his weapon, and then decides to draw one and get shot for the fun of it, after seeing all of his mates get gunned down. I then went to the garage, and there's a woman with a pram, but it's not a baby, it's a dwarf with a fucking Tommy gun. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
Actually, I did have the lightning fast reflexes in order to shoot the thing, but I missed the dwarf by shooting the wrong side of his head, and thus, it did nothing. Fuck's sake. I then shoot some more arseholes to get to the garage, fight my way further, and then this guy gets arrested and I get the ending cutscene.
Johnny, put the slammer in there for hold me. I'll get you. I'll get you.
Now I can sleep easy at night, knowing Johnny Rock's murder has been avenged. But it's so hard to forget. Oh well, tomorrow's another day. And I know something about survival.
Survive this!
So that's Whoshot Johnny Rock, which ends on a "the end?" ? Which is a cardinal sin of game development and movie making, as it's quite presumptuous and assumes that anyone is going to come back for a future installment, or that there is even going to be one. Which, by the way, there's no sequel to this game. So, it is indeed a very presumptuous way to end things. It's basically gone on to join Mass Effect Andromeda, Conduit, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, Haven Call of the King, Left 4 Dead 2, Crysis 3, Alpha Protocol, Kane and Lynch 2, Alan Wake, Beyond Two Souls, Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, Star Wars Republic Commando, Legacy of Kain, Dead Space 3, and The Darkness 2, in a bunch of games that flew too close to the sun and burst into a fireball that was shaped like a question mark. In truth, it reminds me of why I seldom cover games from before the PS1. Though I don't have any cut-off dates for this shit, this is outside my usual territory. I'm not the biggest know-it-all when it comes to games like this, as they're way before my time, and as a result, there's not much that I can compare it to or talk about it deeply with. I do feel like I'm better at doing this with PS2 onwards because that's what I grew up with and I've played a lot of those games. So, I hope I did okay with this one. I guess it is in my territory on a technical level because it does have a PS2 and Xbox release, as suggested on the front cover, but we all know that this isn't a game for my generation. Of course, that's possibly a good thing, as it gives a special perspective on this review. Now I know something about survival as well. However, I have this strange feeling that this wouldn't be the last time I found myself in the world of Johnny Rock, that we'd meet each other again.
Yeah, right.
No money? Get him out of here!